Hey guys, welcome back to the house. In our last video, we talked about the origins of Superman, and we said we're going to do a new video where we're going to talk about the 10 alternative versions of Superman you never knew existed. There have been different alternative versions of Superman throughout the DC's multiverse, but which one is actually the best? Superman is one of those characters that exist throughout DC's multiverse, and there have been dozens, if not hundreds, of versions of him depicted throughout the years, which makes picking a top 10 like this a lot more harder. Whether these versions possess the same sort of moral strength and idealistic outlook as original Kal-El, or if they are twisted a little take on the character. In honor of Superman's history, we are counting down the 10 best alternative versions of the Man of Steel. Starting up with number 10, we're going to start with Earth-Trinitary Kal-El. Writer Grant Morrison created a Superman from Earth-Trinitary that has a dead skin alien from an island on Krypton, which essentially makes him a black version of the character. In a nod to the year's President Barack Obama, this Earth-Trinitary Superman has a secret identity on Earth of Calvin Harris, President of the United States. We have a president who is also a Superman. Pretty cool, right? The character first appeared in Final Crisis issue 7, but he got his own post-New 52 reboot adventures in Action Comics. He was later a lead character in Multiversity, bringing together heroes from across the multiverse to save the day. The Nail Superman. In the 1998 limited series The Nail, Jonathan and Martha Kent's pickup truck got a flat tire caused by a nail, and that prevents them from finding baby Kal-El's spaceship. Without spoiling the entire story, the comic premise is that baby Kal didn't become a superhero, and the Justice League forms up without him. Without the presence of Superman, Metropolis is an uglier place. Many of these well-known superheroes have either been disabled or killed during villainous attack, and the public isn't too keen on metahumans. And to stay spoiler-free, let's just say lots of bad things happen because Superman isn't there. Of course, the story does reveal where Kal-El ended up, and why the character himself wasn't particularly compelling. It makes our list of favorite alternative Superman simply because he demonstrates so well how important Superman is to the DC universe. Without him there, bad things in the DCU. I mean, like, Superman is just that little god. Superboy Prime. Love him or hate him, this hero-turned villain represents what human selfishness and immaturity could do to a young person who possesses Superman's name and powers. Superboy Prime is from Earth Prime, where superheroes are just fictional comic book stories. Earth Prime, which was first introduced in 1968 by Carol Bates, was meant to represent our Earth. His parents named him Clark Kent, even though they knew about the fictional Superman with the same name. But it turns out he was also Kryptonian, and he developed powers like his namesake. Soon after becoming a hero, he was caught up in 1985 DC event Crisis on Infinite Earth, which eliminated DC's multiverse. Superboy Prime world was and went away with a handful of other DC's characters to Paradise Dimension. 20 years later, in Infinite Crisis, Superboy Prime evolved into a villain and played an advisory role in several high-profile DC events in the years following. Eventually, Prime, as became known, ended up being a personification of the rage that comic fans feel about stories not going the way they wanted. In one of his final appearances in the pre-New 52 multiverse, he actually went to the DC's offices to complain. Prime recently returned as a villain in Shazam after an extended period of captivity in Source World. Moving up to number 7, we have Secret Identity Superman. In the 4-issue series Superman, Secret Identity, teenage Clark Kent exists in our world and is getting sick of being teased about his name. But he suddenly discovers that he has superpowers and he has to decide how he's going to use them. Okay, that must sound a lot like our last character. And writer Kurt Busiek was admitted that he was initially inspired by Superboy Prime. But this boy with powers paints a much more optimistic scene than the Prime version. In Secret Identity, Clark is immensely likable and feels very familiar, like someone could live next door. We're giving him a spot on this list for dealing with all the familiar superhero tropes in a very realistic and personal way that made the concept of Superman remarkably relatable. Number 6, we have Ike Canceller's Superman. In the video game and comic book franchise Injustice Girls Among Girls, Superman has taken over the Earth after the destruction of Metropolis and the death of Lois Lane. Deciding to rule over the Earth may sound like a villainous move, but Superman's motives are altruistic and he just wants to wipe out crime. As a result, he virtually eliminated crime on Earth. Of course, that's only because he killed anyone who threatens the peace he has created. Arkane Solo Superman evolution into world ruler is not only frightening but understandable thanks to the video game's intro of and comic book Injustice God Among Us. This chilling reminder that Superman is almost all powerful being and the folks in DCU are really lucky he got his head all straight. And number 5, we have Superman. In Superman Red Son, Baby Kal-El's rocket lands in the Soviet Union instead of Kansas. He is raised to be a champion of the communist regime instead of fighting for the American way. Like the eye-cancer Superman in Injustice, God Among Us, Red Son Superman becomes a ruler who lives by force. But in this story, he does so as a part of the Soviet Empire. However, Red Son ends up confirming that even within this framework, Superman is the hero we know. Plus, it ends with a coda that is one of the most clever alternative origins story of Superman. Red Son Superman was once shown to be among DC's multiple Earths, specifically Earth 30. With his own Earth having appeared in DC stories, Red Son Superman takes up our number 5 in this countdown. Number 4, we have Bizarro. A lot of robots, clones, and reverse versions of Superman, Bizarro stands as the number 1. The character is intended to have Superman's powers, but to be his opposite. While Superman is smart, Bizarro is not. While Superman is heroic, Bizarro is not. And as any good Bizarro imitator knows, the character has a speech pattern influenced by the opposite theme. Goodbye, may not, Bizarro. In various incarnations, Bizarro had been a clone and has lived on a planet in the DCU called Bizarro World, complete with Bizarro versions of other characters. Earth 2 Kal-El takes our place up in number 3. This older, wiser version of Superman was married to Lois Lane, lived in a nostalgic-style metropolis, and fought alongside with other DC superheroes in the Justice Society of America. The character was introduced during the 1960s to explain the continuity glitch of there being Silver Age characters along the first Golden Age version of Superman in DC Comics. And yes, realize that technically Kal-El didn't originate as an alternate Superman, but we are including him on this list because he functioned as one for much of DC's publishing history. The main reason this Superman makes our top 10 is because the invention of him as an Earth 2 Superman was one of DC's first experiments with multiple versions of the character, paving the way for more alternative versions. Plus, his character starred in several of DC's most high-profile events, including Crisis on Infinite Earths and Infinite Earths Crisis. Why Superman doesn't seem to have an Earth 2 anymore? He returned from the dead, under control of Darkseid, an homicidal maniac named Brutal. So what we're saying is Earth 2 Kal-El was a cold one. And number 2, we have Ultraman. Ultraman is a villain from another planet who is an evil counterpart to Superman. Originally hailing from Earth 3, he showed up later as a villain from the Antimatter universe. Of course, he's recently played a starring role as a supervillain from a planet designated as S3 in the New 52 event Forever Evil. The new Ultraman, like his previous incarnation, draw powers from kryptonite. He was even seen crushing and snorting it like a superpower gifting drug. The character is most compelling because, as heroic as Clark Kent is, Ultraman is just pure evil. He's cold-blooded killer. His stories have shown that because he relies on his ability to kill instead of his abilities to fight and outmaneuver, he is at disadvantage against the more creative abilities of Clark Kent. And as our number 1, we are going to take up Kingdom Come Superman, a story that takes place in a distant future of DCU. Kingdom Come Superman portrays a Clark Kent who retires after the murder of Lois Lane. While he's out of commission, more and more nihilistic heroes begin to appear, and when Superman eventually returns, the struggle causes major upheavals. With award-winning artwork by Alex Ross and an almost spiritual story by Mark Waid, Kingdom Come made this Superman so beloved that DC ended up making him part of regular continuity for a while. and even made Kingdom Come one of his 52 hits. Superman Returns. Brandon Routh surprised his role as Superman for the recent Arrowverse crossover Crisis on Infinite Earths by playing the Kingdom Come version of the Man of Steel, complete with Dark Earth symbol and the glowing hell. That's the end of today's video. Please don't forget to like the video, hit the subscribe button so as to get more updates from us. And again, this is the house.